Welcome to another episode of Bella in Your Business. My name is Bella Vasta from Jump Consulting, and today I've got a guest that I've had on my show before, but she was so exciting, and everyone loved having you on that I had to have you on again. Welcome, Kara Armour. How are you?
I'm doing fabulously, although the weather is not. It is pouring.
Well,
So
that's what you get for being in Boston.
I know, I
For
know.
those of you who do not know Kara, Kara is the co founder of Active Paws Inc. In the Boston area. And in 2009, Kara actually won Pet Sitter of the Year. She's decorated in many accolades and even expanding to opening a grooming and holistic supply store. Kara is on today because this month in April is actually Pet First Aid Awareness Month. And Kara works with Pro Pet Hero, and that's what we kind of talked a little bit about the last time. But I wanted to have you on again because not only is it just so timely right now, but I just kind of wanted to first take everyone back and explain, how did you become a part of Pro Pet Hero? Because I know your story starts with you actually starting something like that yourself, right?
Yeah, so I'm a go-getter, and when I started my company, I knew it was important for me to have pet first aid and CPR training. I knew if I had someone else's animal in my care, I had to know what to do when things go wrong, because they do. And so I kept returning to the Red Cross class, which was hilarious because the instructor finally, after 3 years, told me they don't expire. So in 2009, when I won Pet Sitter of the Year, I actually became aware of pet tech, and I wanted to be a part of sharing the knowledge. I had become more advanced in it, and I wanted to be instructor. So in 2011, I became an instructor. And then I was realizing the geographical limitations. My classes were selling out. I had waiting lists. I wasn't willing to drive more than an hour because it's a lot out of your day. 4-hour
Right.
class becomes a 6-hour endeavor. So
And probably lugging all of those stuffed animals and stuff too, I imagine. I mean, it was a
the
full cart.
tables. I
And
mean,
tables.
I was teaching. I was very lucky when I would teach in churches. They had tables and chairs, but when I would
Uh-huh.
teach in daycares, they didn't. So I was travel. I was a traveling
You're a
roadshow. I was
traveling roadshow, yeah.
yeah. So I had this student in my class, and he said, I was looking for an online class, and I said, oh, you can't teach this online. And he said, why not? So I started doing some research, and you can, and there's a lot of studies, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later, that show that this information and lots of information can be portrayed better online. So I actually built my own online course, and that was in 2015. And then in 2016, I found Pro Pet Hero. And it was everything that I knew I didn't have. So they were an actual veterinarian teaching the course. And that's something that I thought was important. I felt
Yeah,
confident in my skills in the education, but I felt like this information should come from somebody that has actually saved hundreds of pet lives.
sure.
And so I literally called them up and I said, guys, I know I built a course that's, I guess, your competition, but I want to be a part of your awesome, because what they were doing is just awesome. And they have a similar story. Roy, Scott, and Paul. Roy was an EMT, a paramedic. He started the business back in 2003 as a paramedic. He was sick and tired of being a traveling roadshow. He was tired of the geographical limitations, and so he had two friends that were able to help him get his classes online for humans. And
Yeah.
then they opened up into the pet market in 2016, and I basically barged right in.
Here I am, and
Here
I
I
can't
am. You,
I
yeah,
can't picture that happening for me, Kara. I
surprising.
love it. You made a really good point there, the whole veterinarian trained part, and I really like that story, and I wanted my listeners to hear that because I wanted to hear how your heart evolved. It wasn't like you all of a sudden just won a job and you got hired from this company and now you're repping for them. It's so much more deeper than that, and more of an evolution than that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I was able to take my pride and set it aside. I had built something that I wanted to succeed,
Yeah,
but when you know there's something better, it's
yeah.
better to join it rather than fight it. And I wanted to join it.
I love that. I love that. I wish more people had that mentality. That's why you're one of my favorite people. So let's talk more about this online learning thing. When I was in college, oh my God, like 15 years ago, I feel old.
It was longer for me.
Online was just starting, right? And it was kind of like this taboo, weird thing. But as
Hmm.
I prepared for this call, I heard that there's an increasing number of students selecting distant learning courses as a part of their regular college curriculum, and
Yeah.
there's been a 150% increase between 1998 and 2008. Now, one could say, well, Kara, Bella, we're talking about saving pets' lives. And Kara, I'm going to tell you what I think about that, and I want to hear your thoughts because I know you have thoughts. My thought is we are not veterinarians, we are not vet techs, we are pet sitters and dog walkers. And technically, if a client is out of town, we're really only there for an hour and a half to 3 hours out of a day if we're doing 3 times a day visits. So the possibility of something happening while we're there is pretty slim for us to actually triage and start doing compressions and help this. Like, I don't know how many times you've done it in your pet sitting career, but I don't know many pet sitters that have actually had to do compressions on a dog. I do know and understand and appreciate the whole first aid element. In Arizona, you get cactus in the paw, or you get something up your snout, or the dehydration, or the over heat exhaustion, that kind of stuff. But when we're talking about like the real hard triage and veterinarian kind of stuff, you're going to be getting the dog to the vet, right? So the whole like, you can't teach this online, I don't really think applies. I mean, even veterinarians are taking their own courses online. So why not pet sitters learning online for a fraction of the cost in the comfort of their own home and then being able to replicate it to their whole staff? Whoa, I sound like a little bit of a sales right now, and I don't mean that, but this is what's going on in my mind. What do you think about all that, Kara?
I think you bring up some really good points because I have used CPR twice. I
Mm-hmm.
had a greyhound that was having a stroke, and I
Wow.
was able to bring him back, get him to the vet, and then his parents did make the choice to say goodbye. And
Yeah.
then I had unsuccessful CPR in a car with a cat that was alive and alert, but tacky gums, blue gums. When I had arrived, and I set him back in the car, and my heart just sank, and I said, I should go check him. And sure enough, his heart had stopped, and I was doing compressions, and I was only 5 minutes from the ER, and I did. That's a whole nother story. But
I've never met anyone like that. That's amazing.
yeah. Um, but your point is very valid in that you're right. We're rarely, even as pet sitters, going to use CPR.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use the mentality of something could go wrong and the what ifs, you're not going to be prepared. And I think what the importance about this training is it prepares you for the what ifs. And most importantly, are going to use that first aid and first aid awareness month. Be aware. And that's what I train my staff to do.
Mm-hmm.
I tell them, you need to go into every situation and just be aware of your surroundings, be aware of your safety, be aware of the pet's safety. I've gone into meet and greets and found mammary cancer on a Shih Tzu that they weren't aware of.
Yeah.
I found, I had a golden retriever that had a limp, and the owners were like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's ACL tear. We're going to get him to the vet. And I said, you might want to go sooner than later. It turned out to be osteosarcoma. So I think the training allows us, and this is perfectly adapt to learn online, because what happens
Yeah.
online is you learn from the best at their best. I've gone into classes. I'm not going to lie. I've taken some cough medicine. I've had a cold. If I had to teach a class last Saturday, I would have been a wreck. Um, so I think it's important that online learning allows you to get the absolute highest learning from the best person at the best day.
Mm-hmm.
Editing makes, we can make us look a lot better. So
Yeah.
I think it's just important as pet sitters to have this information for the what ifs. And the first aid you're going to use, like you're going to get puncture wounds, you're going to get a cut paw, you're
Yeah.
going to walk into all kinds of issues. You need that.
Yeah.
That's
The other thing that I think of, because one of my platforms is really helping the industry kind of um, get employees and the staff. And I don't know what day or how the logistics or whatever work if you did find a trainer, or I don't know, do you call it a trainer, to come in house, and what, you just tell all your clients, we can't do it this day, like we can't help you because we're in class all day? Or do you individually send them out? Or do you individually say, you're responsible for going to this training and making them do it, take them off the schedule? I mean, the logistics of doing that in person, once it's not just you, and once you do have a staff, are crazy to me. And also,
the
the mark.
payroll.
Yeah, that's right. Not only you're paying for this class, but you're also paying them per hour to be there. That's a really good point. I didn't even think of that. It just logistically sounds like a nightmare to me. And when you can do something online and then you can have it to refer to. And Kara, since I like started with the program, every Sunday night I get a new video that's just kind of a really cool refresher course. So what I'm thinking again with people that have staff, maybe they have their own Facebook group, or maybe they don't, maybe they just email their staff, but that's something that you could like email out to people and start a discussion on your staff. That's part of that ongoing training that essentially helps your staff feel like, wow, my boss cares about me, and my boss wants to keep like giving me education, and people feel loved that way. People feel like they're part of the team, and they just like their job better, you know?
Well,
So
I also make games of it too. You know, I'll go in.
good
I
one.
have a new hire. His name's Ken. He's actually a model. Whew. That's been most of my staff are ladies, and my husband was like, Anyways, so and his name is Ken. It's literally Ken. Anyway, he's a great guy, and I hope he doesn't hear this. No, I'm just kidding. I'll go in and I asked him today. I said, "So who are some of your favorite dogs?" And he's like, "Oh, I love Maple the lab." And I was like, "Okay, how would you do chest compressions on her? Where's the highest part of her chest?" And so I get them to think about things like that so that they're always paying attention to, yeah, you love Maple. She's a great lab and she's fun, but what happens if Maple cuts her paw and you're, 6 blocks away from the house?
Uh-huh.
So you can have fun with it. The refresher courses, the videos are just, they're good for not only refreshment, they're good for, breaking conversation and talking to your staff. They're really good because, they're video, but also this course in particular, I don't know of any in-person course that tests retention. I can sneak onto my account and see what Ken's passing score was.
Uh-huh.
And that's cool because that tells me, I can see the areas that he had a problem with, the questions that he didn't know so well. So when those videos come up, if he didn't do so well on temperature or heart rate, I can, kind of ask him, all right,
Yeah.
do you understand why heart rate's important? So it's just, it sparks a conversation, gives you something to talk about. It's a water cooler discussion, and it's also educational.
Uh-huh. I also think of this from a marketing standpoint, Kara, and I really hope our listeners aren't thinking I'm trying to sell them this. I'm not. I'm just having this like open discussion with you because it is so kind of mind-blowing, and I'm not quite sure why more people don't take advantage of it. From a marketing standpoint, every single pet sitting website, well, maybe not every single, 80 to 90% of them say that they go above and beyond, that they care for their pets as if they're their own, that they turn the blinds to the lived-in look, that there's no travel trauma, there's no exposure to illness. They say all the same things. They sell the industry, right? And how cool would it be if you were a client looking for someone to care for your baby that was talking about like all of our staff are first aid CPR certified, and here's what that means, you know? Or here's what our ongoing training looks like. We have a fully trained staff. Our staff are employees and they're trained with our training manual. Well, that's great. How about talking about what's in that training manual? How about talking about that exact story that you just gave me? That kind of story would be an incredible gold mine of a Facebook Live on your page for 2 minutes that say, hey guys, just wanted to tell you about this awesome new hire I have. And I just want to make sure that you know that I want to make sure he's doing a great job. So we have this really cool training that's Pet First Aid CPR certification. And he was telling me how much he loves this Mabel. And you could forward it to Mabel's mom too. And you could say, I asked him like, where would you do chest compressions if anything ever happened to Mabel? That would be a cool story. That's something that's going to bring your business and your value to life, right, Kara? It's just like, I see that as just something so different that nobody's doing. And so not only could a course like this just give you the knowledge, but it's knowledge that you could snowball into so many different areas. It's exciting to me.
It's super exciting because I think what we all know is very important. This industry is growing, and it's growing rapidly, and there's a lot of noise in it. And we all know, and I'm one of the marketing kind of things that you have to pay attention to is your niche market.
Yeah.
And how do you stand above the rest? So let's just put this on a human side. If I'm looking for a babysitter for my child, and I've got two, wonderful 17-year-old girls, they're high school students, they're straight A's, all of that, they've got great references, and one's certified in CPR and first aid, and the other's not, what choice are you going to make? So I think that's one way, not only that we can stand above the crowd, but it's also going to become, and mark my words, it's going to become regular. Just as, 13 years ago when I started my company, bonding and insurance was, people were like, what's that? Wait,
Yeah.
and now not 100%, not every client asks for it, but it's a lot more common knowledge, especially with our larger, online booking services. They're talking about it too. Insurance, at least. So why not set the tone and be the kind of first people that say, oh, well, I'm certified in first aid and CPR, insured and bonded, because that says to them, I've put your pet as number one.
Yes.
I care. So I think it's a huge marketing advantage for pet sitters, because you know what? While many pet sitting companies are, still enough aren't, and that will allow you to stand above your competition for sure. It's a competitive advantage that everyone should really consider.
This is so, so important. And I need to cut to a quick commercial break. But when we come back, I want to continue about this competitive advantage because, Kara, there's something happening in our industry right now where a lot of pet sitters are feeling something getting nipped at their heels. And this could be the perfect solution for them. We'll be right back. So, Kara, this big competitive advantage that we're doing right now, or talking about, I'm going to put it out there. Rover's coming up. Whether you like it or not, Rover's coming up. And it's not the fact that it's not a test between who's best or who's right or who's wrong. We all know and have our feelings about stuff. But Kara, I was on a call this week with a business, an $800,000 business that's actually feeling the pressure from Rover. And the feeling is coming because her price margin is really low. It's really low, like $18 to $20 low. And then there's discounts on top of that. No, I apologize. As low as $15.50 a walk.
What?
Yeah. And so I'm sorry, it's between like 15 to the 18. That was the range. So not only does she have that going for her, but if you could come on and you could say something like, this entire month you could create an entire marketing campaign. And if you're looking for ideas, Kara and I could give you endless ideas. Oh God, like every single day we could show you how you could like be using this whole Pet First Aid Awareness Month all over again. But when you can, going back to your analogy of that 16, 17-year-old straight A student and one has a CPR, you are going to be starting to be looked at compared to Rover. And price can be one thing that really sets you outside of that market, when you're $25, $30. But another thing can be, how trained are you? And really touting that on the front page of your website, you guys, because people do care about this. People will pick you because of this. And oftentimes the people that are trained, Kara, I've never really seen one lead with this in marketing. I've seen it as a little emblem hidden at the bottom right corner of the website. I've never really seen it like, we are trained in this and this is why this matters. Or little emblems next to each one of your staff members that are, certified or trained or whatever it might be. I just see this, the more competition that enters or the more choices consumers have, I think the more important something like this could be a game changer for those businesses.
It's also, it's a topic of conversation. I present it to any new clients that I go to a meet and greet.
Yeah.
And some people are still going, oh, that exists. And then they're fascinated to talk about it. And then they're even more confident in their choice in you because they've now learned something cool and new. And then now they've learned that you know how to do it. So their pets are in the best hands.
And it justifies a higher price too.
Yeah. Because, anybody knows that, especially with the Rovers of the world, that you can go online and find anybody to watch your pet. Yeah. That's known.
Yeah.
And Rovers, I know we could talk all day about the insurance, but the fact is they have insurance. The clients don't know the coverage. They don't understand that. That's a whole nother can of worms.
I don't even think the sitters do sometimes either. They don't understand that they're not covered, only the client's covered, but.
Correct. So I can tell you that, there's nothing stopping the Rover sitters. And if people are listening that are on Rover, here's your chance. I'm leveling the playing field. If you have CPR and first aid certification, you are going to stand above your competition. That right there alone. It's one more, elevation. Yeah, it's one more accolade to put you there. And, why not proudly display that certificate, the badge? It doesn't make sense. I've been doing it since 2003.
Yeah.
Since the second I started this company, I think my first client was a cat. I think before I even serviced them, I went to that Red Cross class. Yeah. And it's just, it meant so much to me then, and to find out that still so many people don't take advantage of it from both the safety perspective and the marketing perspective. It's silly.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a lot of perspectives. Tell me more about other ways, like minor ways that people might use it. Like, I arrived to a pet sit to walk a dog and a dog's limping. How would I assess that? Like, this course would give me things to feel, right? Things to look for, things to know better
Yeah.
other than your dog was limping today, right?
Yeah, well, like I said, so this course has kind of trained my eyes to pick up on stuff that not only I notice as a pet sitter caring for the animal, but
Yeah.
things that the owners don't even notice.
Yeah.
Limps or changes in the gait. When you see the pet every single day, and it might be arthritis, so it starts out slow, but then
Hmm.
you haven't seen the dog in 2 or 3 weeks, and then you go to pet sit it, and you're like, Nancy, Brando's kind of limping pretty badly. And then she says, "Oh, I thought so." And then she gets him to the vet. He gets on Rimadyl. His life is better. I
Yeah.
mean, there's just that, but also the emergencies. So, I just wrote some because it's Pet First Aid Month. I wrote a couple blogs on puncture wounds, and my dog ate what? So I just had there was a great Nat Geo show. I
That's
don't
a
know what.
good pet sitter one. I mean, my dog ate what? The counter
Well,
surfer.
my dog
Yeah.
ate what at my staff's house? Not her fault. It was a complete accident. But she had this dog. She'd pet him before, 11-pound Skipper mix. And he's not crated at home. He's not crated at her house. I've been over her house. It's dog proofed. It's safe. She went to the gym. We're allowed to go to the gym, right? We're allowed to leave our house and leave a dog behind. She left him confined in her room. She came back. All was well. Next morning he threw up. It was just bile, so we weren't thinking too much of it. Ate his
Hmm.
breakfast and then immediately threw up again. That's when we go, something's not right.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, bring him to work with you all day. My husband looked at him. He said, yeah, he seems a little off. Let us know how he is at dinner. Turned his nose up to dinner. This is not a picky eater. This is a chow hound.
Yeah.
And my husband was like, he needs to go to the vet. And only because we knew that dog, and we knew that, some people I
Yeah.
would say, oh, it's stress.
Yeah.
Let's give him to the morning. I'm glad
Yeah.
we didn't wait. We bring him in, $4,600 later. They had to go into his stomach, and they found a little round plastic disc. The vet texted that to us. The owner, she's been with us for 10 plus years. She was phenomenal, but she's down in Florida worried about her dog.
Yeah.
So, little round plastic disc, my employee immediately goes, oh, my chair's been wibbly. The little plastic disc that's nailed into the bottom of your chair to make it slide on carpet. He ate it.
Oh my God.
And
Your dog ate what?
he would have suffered a lot longer
Yeah.
had we not known him and known him to get, there was no amount of hydrogen peroxide we could have used to get that plastic bit up. I don't even know
Right.
how it went down. It was big and he is small.
Right. Right.
I think he was probably chewing on it and it slipped. I don't know. But regardless, that was important. We knew that
Yeah.
animal. We knew what was usual, what was not. And that's what I always try and tell people. This is what this course will teach you. It will teach you to look at the animals in a different light. And you will find stuff that you will be a trained eye. You'll find stuff that your clients didn't even notice.
Mhm.
And it's amazing. It's not that clients don't love their animals to death. It's just
Mhm.
they don't notice these things, They
Mhm.
can't tell that their puppy's gaining a little weight because they see it every single day.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I mean, I know I forget things. I have brain fog and and unless I write it down or it's really hard to go back to it. So I did take a pet CPR first aid course when I first started out because that's what I thought I should do. And I do remember being in the course. I don't remember anything from the course, but I'm lifetime for certified. I'm kind of like a poser, and there's so much going on in our lives, and especially when we replicate it with staff, I just don't see how the online thing can be so much more fruitful because you can go back to it and you are getting those constant trainings. So, Kara, thanks for reminding us about how important this is, especially with First Aid CPR month. And thank you so much for your time for being on here again. Why don't I'll post a link in the show notes and also on here on YouTube, if you're watching on YouTube, on how you can get 10% off if you wanted to sign up. And just to throw it out there, you guys, this is like a $50 course. It's not going to break your bank.
Nope.
And it's not going to add like thousands of dollars onto trying to send a staff member to a course. So,
Well, you can also, depending on your pay structure, I had some cancellations the other day with my new staff member, Ken, and I said, hey, this is a great time for you to sit in that dog's apartment. We've got their Wi-Fi. I'll shoot their parents an email and let them know that you're staying a little bit longer with the dogs. Who's going to care about that? And why don't you finish up your course? And he was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it was great.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. You're a great manager, Kara. Thank you so much for your time. And a special thanks to Pro Pet Hero as well. Like I said in the show notes, you can figure out how you can get 10% off for you and all your staff. This has been another episode of Bella in Your Business. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to us on iTunes and Stitcher. And remember to always keep jumping.